Okay, good afternoon, good morning. I don't know what time you'll be watching this, but today I'll be talking about the Classic Genetic Simulator Project 1 for Genetics Lab. And in this project, we are looking at the Arabidopsis, the plant, and we are testing the first law of inheritance, being segregation of alleles. And the trait that we are looking at is the root type, specifically long root type, which is dominant, and short root type, which is recessive. And the hypothesis that we'll be testing is that it adheres to the first law of inheritance. And if that were to be true, then we are going to expect to observe a 3-to-1 phenotypic ratio in the F2 generation. And the methods that I used during this project were to first obtain true breeders for each root type trait, long being dominant and short being recessive again, and then to cross each root type to make an F1 generation, and then perform a self-cross to obtain the F2 generation. Oh, here we go. And then after I obtain an F1 generation, I will do a quick self-cross to obtain the F2 generation, and that is what we see here. We see the observed numbers for the F2 generation here. And interestingly, we are expecting the ratio that we are expecting is 3-to-1, 3 long to 1 short, but that is not actually what we see here. We see a new trait that we were not expecting, really, a medium root length. And the observed numbers that we see here are 34, 61, and 30 for long, medium, and short, respectively. So we just do a quick little chi-squared test with the 3-to-1 ratio, and we observe a p-value of 0.01, which is less than our threshold value of 0.05. So we reject the hypothesis for the first law of inheritance, not seeing the 3-to-1 phenotypic ratio in the F2. Okay, so here we are going to look at the Punnett square for the long to short phenotypic ratios. Under typical circumstances, you would expect the dominant trait, the long, to work over the short and be expressed under these two in the heterozygous genotypic ratio. But under autosomal incomplete dominance, that is not what we see. So what we see is we have this, the homozygous long genotypic trait posting up a 1. And then we see the heterozygous long short genotypic trait giving us a representation of 2, and then the homozygous short giving us a representation of 1, leading us to our 1-to-2-to-1 phenotypic ratio here that we are going to retest for in our F2 generation. And so we go back into our F2 generation that we tested for the first time, and we just do a simple retest with the new ratio that we were expecting, the 1-to-2-to-1 ratio with the observed numbers from the first time, and that comes out to a p-value of 0.8, above our threshold of 0.05 for the p-value. So we fail to reject our new hypothesis, and that leads us to believe that our inheritance pattern for the root type trait in the Arabidopsis follows the inheritance pattern follows the autosomal incomplete dominance, producing a 1-to-2-to-1 ratio in the F2 generation. Thank you very much, and I hope that you were able to understand my little walkthrough of my project, and see you in class.